Iaquinta is the main thing that I've been seeing in the news. Raging Al living up to his nickname. Should we get into this, Lewis, or what?
Let's get into it. So it was this past weekend. It was Saturday night. I was in Austin, so I didn't get to watch the fights either. Cub Swanson beat Artem Lobov, unanimous decision. Iaquinta defeated Diego Sanchez with a knockout in the very first round, 1 minute and 38 seconds into the first round. And I guess what happened was afterwards, he got booed again, which this is the second time this has happened. Iaquinta, they booed him recently. We talked about it on the countdown when Mickey Gall filled in for you last week with Al, and he flipped out. He was like, fucking boo me, fuck you. And he went crazy. And it was a great moment for Al, in my opinion. And so he wins again, and I guess he comes out and he starts getting booed again. And then he starts flipping out again. And now he's just gone on like a rampage against everybody involved. Anybody that's ever said the word the UFC, he's rampaging against.
Give me an example. Give the listeners that aren't informed about this an example.
So he wrote, just got off the phone with Reebok, this is on Twitter, at Reebok, trying to act cool with me. Either you're with me or against me, Iaquinta. Then he wrote, you choose a little bitch, Sage Northcutt over me. I'm the fucking man. I'll take your guy out, Reebok. Take away my sponsor money.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, no. I saw all these tweets, and they are laden with spelling mistakes. And by that, I'm not trying to insult his intelligence. I know for a fact he's done this after a few drinks. That is my assumption. Because
hilarious.
Now listen, first and foremost, after the fight, he was talking shit about the UFC and stuff like that. And that's his opinion. That's his right. Whatever he wants to say. But I'm saying those tweets, in my opinion, after the fight, he's at home. He's like, fuck it, I'm out of training camp. I'm going to enjoy myself. He's having a few drinks, and he's taken to Twitter to vent some of his frustrations. That would be my assumption on that. He's also doing interviews. He went on the MMA Hour on Monday, and he was talking about, basically in a nutshell saying, fuck the UFC. They don't get behind me, and I don't need to fight. And listen, I like Iaquinta. I really do. I like the way he fights. He's very, very exciting. He's a knockout artist. He brings a lot to the table. But he's not being the smartest man right now. He's really not. I mean, he's saying he can go off and become a real estate agent and make more money. Fact is, you can't. There's more money to be made in the UFC. It's as simple as that. That's period. And Al has the potential to be one of those guys. He has the potential to be a champion and to go on and make a ton of money and be a fan favorite. But going up against the UFC and, saying fuck you, Dana, and stuff like that, it's just not smart. You know what I mean? It's just not. And I'm not saying you have to be an ass kisser. You don't have to be an ass kisser. But in any line of work, I mean, don't get me wrong. This will endear him to some people for sure. They'll be like, I love this, and it is cool. It's great to see. It's always fun to see somebody going on a rampage and being going against the system. But think a little bit. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Now, of course, speak your mind, be honest, but just don't. You don't have to go too crazy. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about it, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm with you. I'm one of these guys that's loving it because I'm one of the guys that,
No, I love it. I do. It's entertaining. I sat there. I watched all the videos. I watched his segment on the MMA Hour, and I was like, this is great. This is great viewing. But, and he was complaining because one of his issues is that he isn't getting a bonus, But, and again, I'm a big fan of Al. But, there is no protocol as to who gets a bonus. So I don't know. Maybe he's got a point. Maybe he's a little bit of paranoia there. But sorry, go on. I cut you off.
No, it's okay. Say? But I mean, you got to remember, Al was also the guy. He ended up not fighting on the UFC at Madison Square Garden card. He was one of the guys that pulled out and said he wasn't being paid enough. And I remember at the time kind of going like, Al's great. He's such an exciting fighter. He's knocking people out. He's but to be honest with you, I almost feel like he wasn't one of the guys, especially at that time, who I was going like, oh man, that guy's being really underpaid. And granted, I don't know his contract, but he wasn't like this standout name that could, they could put at the top of any card and it would sell tickets. He's a great fighter and he's kind of coming up and making a name for himself. I think this is, in a weird way, is kind of going to help propel him into into the fan favor. And look, I know that it's not great to maybe piss off Dana White and company, but the truth is a lot of people have pissed off Dana White and they made it work. Tito Ortiz, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor. If fans get behind Iaquinta, and it seems like they are because he's just speaking his mind. It does seem like he's drunk. I'm reading more of these tweets. It's pretty funny.
It was definitely drunk because there's there's not spaces, there's there's hashtags when there shouldn't be ones there. It's just that they are drunk man tweets 100%.
Of course, but money talks, and if he has enough fans behind him, he's an exciting fight. It's not like it's Ben Askren talking shit. Who Ben Askren was a lay and pray artist who was just kind of like had a bunch of boring fights and would make all of the UFC's exciting fighters look bad. Iaquinta is an exciting dude who's knocking motherfuckers out. I don't know. It can be fixed. I think he can kind of get more benefit out of talking shit like this than do damage.
No, you're right. I agree, and he's definitely making headlines. We're talking about him on the podcast, so that's definitely going to do good things. But I'm just looking at his record now. I mean, he's on a 5-fight win streak. Rodrigo Dam, knockout. Ross Pearson, knockout. Joe Lozon, knockout. George Masvidal, split decision. By the way, George Masvidal's a prick. I got to get that out there.
Oh,
and Diego Sanchez, knockout. So 5-fight win streak, 4 knockouts. The guy's doing great things. I do want to touch base on George Masvidal and go back to that comment I just blurted out. But we'll do that at maybe after this segment.
No. Let's do a little aside here. This is fine. We're talking about Al.
My ass.
What happened?
You can kiss my fucking British balls. I don't know. He's just talking shit on Twitter, and I just came across it, and I was like, okay. He's calling me a bitch or something like that. I don't know. Saying I'm scared from Yoel. I think they're both Cubans, so they're like 2 peas in a pod, and he's talking shit.
I
was going to respond on Twitter, but I thought, I won't rise to it. I won't lower myself to sending a tweet, but yeah, I'll go on a rant on my own podcast. That was kind of dumb. Let's go back to Iaquinta. 5-fight win streak. 4 of them knockouts. So, yeah, I mean, listen, the guy's awesome. I mean, if you saw his knockout against Ross Pearson, which is not an easy thing to do, and as we say, Joe Lozon just knocked out Diego Sanchez. All right, Diego, admittedly, needs to start thinking about maybe hanging it up sometime soon. He's had a great career. He's been around forever. But he's been knocked out a few times recently. But even still, it's impressive for Joe Lozon. Not Joe Lozon, what am I talking about? But Iaquinta. And he's great. I love his personality, and he lives up to the nickname Regional. And I think he could make a lot of money. I just think that in the early stage of his career, when he's looking to renegotiate, just going into interviews and saying "F you, Dana" doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't help anyone. I'm not saying be an ass kisser. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't speak your mind, but toe the line a little bit. I don't mean toe the line. What I mean is just be a little more professional.
It's a game, and part of it. Look, you want to get fans, and you want to be memorable, and I think he's doing that. But it's still a game. You still have to move your chess pieces in the right way, and that's not necessarily the right move by shitting on Dana White. Dana White will hold it against you, possibly. You have to basically be perfect from this point in your career, otherwise you're going to lose your fucking UFC contract.
Well, he's 5. No, I don't think so. I mean, as we just said, he's 5-0, and so he's on a 5-fight win streak, and he's exciting. He knocks people out. People want to see that, and people pay to see that type of fighter. And as we say, he's getting more and more recognition. But this was his first fight in a long time. This is his first fight in 2 years. His last fight was 2 years ago. My God, it's crazy. He's got all the potential. He's still a young guy. How old is he? Let's have a look. Can you see?
Let's see.
He is 29 years old.
Yeah.
So he's still, still young. He's got a few years to make some money, and then he can go be a realtor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I always found it weird when the UFC would let their fighters talk about their day jobs. They would do that in like countdown packages. Sometimes they would like have. I'm trying to remember who they were, but it would just be like whatever fucking day job they had. It was a firefighter or somebody. It was a heavyweight. Maybe it was
Stipe, still a firefighter.
Yeah, I don't like it.
He's a heavyweight champion of the world.
You know what? I'll give Stipe a pass because he actually is the best heavyweight. And for all intents and purposes, the best fighter in the world. If you're talking about pound for pound, the heavyweight is supposed to be able to beat anybody in the world. So I'll give Stipe
Yeah,
a pass.
that's the way it works. That's the way it works. Anyone in a weight class below me gets fucking mutilated, and anyone in a weight class above me, if you're a champion, you're supposed to beat me. So yeah,
Supposed to.
yeah. So by that definition, Stipe Miocic should be the baddest fighter on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, simple as that. But he is. He's the heavyweight champ of the world, and he's very athletic. He's very good. He's very good. Continue with your point.
But you see other times where the UFC will have, I forget, somebody was fighting. It was a female fighter fighting for the title, I believe, a few years ago, and she was like sweeping up spit, and that was part of like the intro package. And I'm going like, keep it sexy.
Oh, no.
Like I don't need to know. Like when I do this at comedy clubs, when a comedian will talk about their day job on stage, on the same show that I'm on, it kind of pisses me off a little bit because I'm going like, dude, this audience is paying to be there. They don't want to know that you're not just a professional comedian. They don't want to know that you have to go fucking wait tables during the day. And you actually cheapen the other guys that are on the show as well, because then you're kind of making it look like we're not pros,
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs, but listen, it's like anything. It's like being a comedian. You could be the best comedian in the world, Lewis. And I'm not saying you're not. There's a very good chance you are.
Thanks.
I saw you once and you were very, very funny. But I'm using you as an example. You could be the best comedian in the world, but you're not earning that money. You know what I'm saying? And you could be the best fighter in the world and you're not earning that money. You have to work your way up. And unfortunately, at the start, some people do have to hold down jobs. I mean, Stipe, still being a fireman. I mean, that's ridiculous. But I was talking to Stipe recently. He does that because he loves it.
He loves it, yeah.
He doesn't need to be a fireman. He does that out of the fact that he just loves that job. And I just
it's a passion.
have so much respect for him for having that attitude because he's trying to help people.